Welcome back, adventurers. Today, we dive into an epic tale of bravery, betrayal, and unlikely alliances. Our story follows Sergeant Jack Reacher, a hardened space marine on a mission to rescue an alien girl with vital information. Abandoned by her own, shackled in chains, and surrounded by enemies, this alien woman's only hope lies with a solitary human who's not afraid to fight against the odds. Prepare for a journey filled with intense action, unexpected twists, and the beginning of a bond that could change the fate of the galaxy. Let's get started. The stench of unwashed bodies rancid. Food and acrid smoke assaulted Sergeant Jack Reacher's nostrils as he stepped through the airlock onto the cramped, dingy space station. He wrinkled his nose in disgust but strode forward, purposefully ignoring the suspicious and fearful glances from the ragtag. Assortment of aliens loitering in the dimly lit corridor. Jack was a solitary man, more at home in the vast emptiness of space than rubbing shoulders with the dregs of the galaxy. But he had a job to do. To set a high-value target. An alien girl with vital information was being held captive somewhere on this floating cesspool. His mission was to extract her and bring her in safely for questioning. Should be a cakewalk for a hardened space marine like him. Checking the mag on his pulse rifle, Jack made his way down the grimy passageway, stepping puddles of unidentifiable liquid and piles of trash. The sooner he found this damn girl and got off this rusting bucket, the better. He had a bottle of premium scotch waiting for him. Back on the ship, rounding a corner, Jack came to an abrupt halt. The corridor was blocked by a group of burly, heavily armed Rogans, a warlike race known for their love of violence and staunch hatred of humans. Just his luck, the lead Rogan, a scared brute easily 7 feet tall, stepped forward and growled something in its guttural language. Jack's translation implant rendered it as halt, human scum. You are not welcome here. Jack smiled coldly. I ain't looking for a welcome, shitbird. I'm looking for a girl. So why don't you and your boyfriends run along before I put some new holes in those ugly mugs of yours? The Rogans snarled and raised their weapons, but Jack was faster. His pulse rifle bucked in his hand, stitching a line of red-hot death across the lead alien's chest. It toppled backwards with a strangled scream. All hell broke loose. Pulse rounds filled the air as Jack dove for cover behind a bulkhead popping up. He drilled the next road, gone right between its beady eyes, blasting the back of its skull across the wall. The remaining 2 aliens unleashed a barrage of fire, the shots pinging off the metal near Jack's head. Cursing, he blind fired around the corner, driving them back as they took cover. He primed a plasma grenade and bowled it down the passage. The grenade detonated with a thunderous boom, and a blinding flash. Screams of agony told Jack his throw had been on target. Rising, he finished the writhing survivors with 2 clean headshots. Silence fell, broken only by the fading echoes of gunfire and a distant alarm blaring. Slapping a fresh mag into his rifle, Jack stepped over the twitching Rogan corpses and continued on his way. So much for a quiet extraction. After checking several deserted cargo bays, Jack finally hit pay dirt in a dark cell-like room towards the rear of the station. He found her. The girl was huddled in the far corner, knees drawn up to her chest, matted hair hanging over her face, thick metal shackles encircled her slender wrists and ankles. Jack approached slowly, rifle lowered but ready. I'm here to help, he said gruffly. I'm going to get you out of here. The girl raised her head, luminous purple eyes set in a delicate elfin face, blinked at him wearily from beneath the curtain of dirty hair. She looked human, but the shimmering opalescent scales running along her high cheekbones and slender neck marked her as alien. Who are you? She asked in perfectly accented English. Her voice was like honey. Sergeant Jack Reacher, UNC Space Marines, he replied. I'm your ticket off this floating hole. Let's get those chains off you. He sat down his rifle and drew a laser cutter from his belt. As he knelt to examine the shackles, the girl suddenly lunged forward, looping the chains around his throat. Jack choked as the links dug into his flesh, crushing his windpipe. Stars exploded across his vision. The girl leaned in close, her breath hot. Against his ear, "My name is Yara," she hissed, "and I will never go with you." Human gritting his teeth, Jack drove his elbow back hard into the girl's ribs. She grunted in pain, her grip loosening. Wrenching free, he spun and lashed out, backhanding her across the face. Yara reeled back, violet blood spray from her. "Split lips, stupid move, Princess." Jack growled, snatching up his rifle. "I was going to play nice, but now we do this the hard way." Yara spat blood and bared her teeth in a feral snarl. Her eyes flashed with defiance. "I would rather die than be a prisoner of the humans." "Prisoner? I'm trying to save your scaly ass." Jack aimed the rifle at her head. "Intel says you got information we need. You can come quiet, or I can stun your ass and drag you out. Your choice." Yara glared at him for a long moment, chest heaving, then her shoulders slumped in defeat. "Very well," she said quietly, "I will come with you, but know this, human, my life is not yours to command. I choose to go willingly. Whatever you need to tell yourself, sweetheart." Jack lowered the rifle and grabbed her arm, hauling her to her feet. "Let's move, cavalry's waiting." Yara stumbled as the shackles hobbled her stride without breaking pace. Jack slung his rifle and swept the alien girl up into his arms. She was heavier than she looked, her lithe body corded with dense muscle. He could feel the heat of her through his combat armor. Yara hissed in surprise and protest, but Jack ignored her, sprinting back the way he had come. Alarms blared and lights flashed as the station security systems detected the jailbreak. Pulse rounds would past Jack's head as alien guards took potshots from adjoining passageways. "Hold on," Jack barked, and Yara locked her arms around his neck as he janked and weaved, his gin and boosted muscles driving him forward at breakneck speed. A glancing shot clipped his shoulder pauldron, spinning him half around. Yara cried out as they slammed into a bulkhead. Shrugging off the impact, Jack raced onward, the airlock just ahead. With a final burst of speed, they lunged through the opening hatch. Jack punched the emergency close button, and the thick metal door slid shut with a hiss, cutting off the guard's fire. In the sudden silence, Jack became acutely aware of Yara's closeness, the press of her body against his, the brush of her hair on his cheek, the quicksilver dance of reflected light on her scales. She smelled of sweat and blood and something uniquely alien, both strange and alluring. Tearing his eyes away, Jack set her down as the decontamination cycle commenced. Yara swayed unsteadily, the shackles clinking as she moved. "Let me get those," Jack said, unsheathing his laser cutter once more. The girl flinched as he reached for her, but held still as he carefully sliced through the cuffs on her wrists and ankles. The chains fell away with a clang. Yara rubbed at the chafed, bruised skin beneath her gaze. "Still wary, my thanks," she said stiffly. Jack shrugged. "Just doing my job." An awkward silence fell as they waited for the airlock cycle to finish. Questions burned in Jack's mind. Who was this girl really? What secrets did she hold that both humans and aliens sought to control? He opened his mouth to ask, but the clang of the outer hatch opening forestalled him. Yara stepped through onto the waiting dropship, and Jack followed, sealing the hatch behind them. As the ship boosted away from the station, he watched the alien girl hunch down in a crash seat, arms wrapped tightly around herself. She looked small and vulnerable despite her earlier display of spirit. Something unfamiliar twisted in Jack's chest. He gave himself a mental shake. Now was not the time to go soft. He had a mission to complete. Settling into the pilot's chair, he plotted a course back to the nearest UNC outpost and pushed the throttle to full burn. It was time to unravel the mystery of Yara, the alien girl who had escaped from chains. The UNC outpost was a hive of activity when Jack's dropship touched down in the hangar bay. As the hatch cycled open, he was greeted by a full security detail, a dozen heavily armed Marines in full battle rattle, led by a stone-faced lieutenant. "Welcome back, Sergeant Reacher, the officer said, crisply eyeing Yara as she emerged wily behind Jack. I see the mission was a success. Affirmative, sir, Jack replied, snapping a salute. One high-value target secured and ready for questioning. Excellent work. The lieutenant turned to Yara. I am Lieutenant H. Haskins. You are now in the custody of the United Nations Marine Corps. You will be treated fairly and your rights will be respected, but until we have determined your identity and intentions, you will remain under guard. Is that understood? Yara lifted her chin defiantly. I am not your prisoner, human. I agreed to come only because I choose to do so. I will not be caged like an animal. Has Haskins' jaw tightened? Sergeant, escort the detainee to the secure briefing room. Post a guard on the door. No one in or out without my express permission. Yes, sir. Jack took Yara by the arm, ignoring her hiss of protest. Come on, princess. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. He led her through the outpost winding corridors. Conscious of the curious and wary stares from the personnel they passed, Yara walked stiffly beside him, her expression cold and closed. Jack could feel the tension radiating off her in waves. The briefing room was small and stark, with bare metal walls and a single table bolted to the floor. Jack ushered Yara inside and removed her restraints. She rubbed her wrist, glaring at him baffledly. Wait here, he ordered. Someone will be along to talk to you soon. He turned to go, but Yara's voice stopped him. Why did you help me, human? She asked quietly. You could have left me to rot on that station. Why risk your life for a stranger? Jack paused. Considering I had my orders, he said. Finally, but even if I didn't, no one deserves to be chained up like an animal. Not even an alien. Guess I'm just a soft touch that way. Yara studied him intently, her violet eyes searching his face. You are not like the other humans I have met, she murmured. There is a kindness in you, a nobility of spirit I did not expect. That Jack shifted uncomfortably, unaccustomed to such praise. Yeah, well, don't go spreading it around, he muttered. I got a reputation to maintain. A ghost of a smile flickered across Yara's lips. Your secret is safe with me, Surgeon Jack Reacher, and thank you for saving my life. Something warm and unfamiliar bloomed in Jack's chest. He cleared his throat gruffly. Just doing my job, ma'am, he said, and beat a hasty retreat outside. He leaned against the wall and let out a slow breath. What the hell was wrong with him? He was a battle-hardened Marine, not some blushing schoolboy. He couldn't afford to let a pretty face, even an alien one, get under his skin. Straightening, he nodded to the guard. Post Ed at the door and strode off down the corridor, determined to put Yara and her unsettling effect on him out of his mind. He had a report to make. Jack found Lieutenant H. Haskins in the command center, poring over a hollow map of the sector. The officer glanced up as Jack approached and snapped a salute. Report. Sergeant, sir, the detainee has been secured in briefing room, Alpha, Jack said crisply. She was cooperative during the extraction, but refuses to acknowledge our authority over her. She may be a flight risk. Has Haskins frowned. I see. And what's your assessment of her? Reacher, is she a threat? Jack hesitated. I don't believe so, sir, he said slowly. She had ample opportunity to attack me during the extraction, but did not. And she seems genuinely grateful for the rescue. I think she's just scared and doesn't know who to trust. H. Haskins rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Our intel suggests she may have vital information about a new alien threat, a species we've never encountered before with technology far beyond our own. We need to know what she knows. Understood, sir. Jack straightened. What are your orders for now? We wait, as Haskins said. I've sent a priority message to High Command. They're sending a specialist to handle the interrogation. In the meantime, I want you to build a rapport with the girl. Get her to trust you. See if you can't persuade her to cooperate willingly. Jack blinked in surprise. Sir, I'm not exactly a people person. Wouldn't someone from SUPS be better suited for that? H. Haskins shook his head. She's already shown a connection to you. Reacher, you're our best shot at getting through to her, and frankly, I don't trust those psychop spooks any more than I have to. They're just as likely to break her as to get any useful intel. The lieutenant fixed Jack with a piercing stare. This is important, Sergeant. That girl may hold the key to humanity. Survival, whatever it takes. We need to find out what she knows. Are we clear? Jack swallowed a sinking feeling in his gut. Yes, sir. Crystal clear. Good. H. Haskins turned back to the hollow map. Dismissed, Sergeant, and good luck. Something tells me you're going to need it. Jack saluted and left, his mind whirling. What had he gotten himself into? Playing nice with an alien girl was not exactly his forte. Give him a straight-up firefight any day. Still, orders were orders, and if there was even a chance that Yara could help them against this new threat, he had to try. The fate of humanity might just rest on his ability to charm a single alien female. No pressure. Then, squaring his shoulders, Jack made his way back to the briefing room. It was time to turn on that famous Reacher charm, and H to hell. It worked on alien women as well as it did on human ones. He had a feeling he was going to need all the luck he could get. Jack paused outside the briefing room door, taking a moment to compose himself. He had never been good at this sort of thing, talking, connecting with people in the Marines. He was known as a lone wolf, more comfortable with a rifle in his hands than a conversation on his lips. But he had his orders, and more than that, he found himself genuinely wanting to help Yara, to ease the fear and mistrust he saw in her eyes. There was a strength and defiance to her that called to something deep within him, even as her vulnerability awakened a fierce protectiveness he had never known he possessed. Drawing a deep breath, he knocked once and entered the room. Yara sat at the table, her posture rigid, and her hands folded tightly before her. She looked up as he approached, her expression is guarded back. So soon? She asked coolly. I thought you had washed your hands of me. Jack pulled out the chair opposite her and sat down deliberately, keeping his body language open and non-threatening. Not a chance, he said, with a crooked smile. You're stuck with me now, Princess. Yara's eyes narrowed. I am not your princess, human, she snapped. I am Yara of the Tari, daughter of the High Counselor. You would do well to remember that. Jack held up his hands in apology. Fair enough, Yara, it is. He leaned forward, his expression serious. Look, I know you don't trust us, and I don't blame you, but believe it or not, we're on your side. We want to help you. Yara scoffed. Help me by locking me in this room and interrogating me. Forgive me if I find that hard to believe. I know it seems that way, Jack said patiently, but you have to understand we're facing a threat. We know nothing about a new enemy with advanced tech and unknown capabilities. Intel says you might have information that could help us. That's the only reason you're here. He met her gaze squarely, willing her to see the sincerity in his eyes. I give you my word as a Marine and as a man that no harm will come to you as long as you're in our custody. We just need you to trust us, to work with us. Can you do that? For a long moment, Yara stared at him in silence, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she nodded. I will try, she said quietly, but I cannot promise anything. My people have suffered greatly at the hands of other races. Trust has not come easily to me. Jack's heart clenched at the pain and weariness in her voice. I understand, he said softly. Believe me, I know what it's like to be betrayed by those you thought you could trust, but I swear to you on my life, I will not let anyone hurt you, not on my watch. Something flickered in Yara's eyes, a brief flash of vulnerability. Quickly masked. You are an unusual human, Jack Reacher, she murmured. I find myself wanting to believe you even against my better judgment. Jack smiled. I'll take that as a compliment. He leaned back in his chair, some of the tension easing from his shoulders. So tell me about this new enemy. What do you know? Yara hesitated, then seemed to come to a decision. They are called the Vukari, she said grimly, and they are unlike any race we have encountered before. Their technology is vastly superior, their ships and weapons more advanced than anything even my people possess. They appeared on the edges of our space some months ago and have been steadily expanding their territory since. She shuddered, a haunted look in her eyes. They do not conquer, they destroy. They burn worlds and slaughter entire population nations. None who stand against them survive. We have tried to fight, but our fleets are like insects before them. They swat us aside like we are nothing. Jack felt a chill run down his spine at the despair in her voice. What do they want? He asked Hilly. Why are they doing this? We do not know. Me, Yara whispered. They do not communicate, do not negotiate. They simply kill. Some believe they are not even truly alive, but some kind of advancement. Machine intelligence bent on our extermination. All we know is that they are coming and nothing can stop them. She looked up at him, then her eyes bright with unshed tears. My people are dying. Jack, my father sent me to seek help from the other races to warn them of the threat, but none would listen. They are too consumed by their own petty conflicts to see the danger. You humans are my last hope. If you cannot stop the Vukari, no one can. Jack reached across the table and took her hand in his, squeezing gently. We will find a way, he promised fiercely. Humanity doesn't back down from a fight, and we sure as hell don't let innocent people die. If there's a way to beat these Vukari bastards, we'll find it together. Yara stared at their joined hands, then up at his face. A single tear slipped down her cheek. I want to believe you, she whispered, but I am afraid to hope. Believe in me, Jack urged. Believe in humanity. We're a stubborn bunch, and we don't know the meaning of the word quit. We'll fight to our last breath to protect what's ours, and that includes you now, Yara. You're one of us, whether you like it or not. A watery smile touched her lips. I suppose I could do worse than to be counted among the humans, she said softly. You are a brave and noble people, Jack Reacher. I am honored to fight beside you. Jack grinned. Careful, you'll make me blush. He stood still, holding her hand. Come on, let's go talk to the lieutenant. It's time to come up with a plan to kick some Valkyrie ass. Yara rose gracefully, her fingers tightening around his lead. The way, Sergeant, I am with you. Together, hand in hand, human and alien united in common cause. They left the briefing room and strode out to face the uncertain future. The odds were long and the path ahead dark, but for the first time Jack felt a flicker of hope. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would rage against the dying of the light, and with Yara by their side, they just might have a chance. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity was made of. It was time to make the Vukari regret the day they crossed paths with the men and women of Earth. It was time for some good old-fashioned human heroics, and Sergeant Jack Reacher was just the man to lead the charge. Humanity, yeah. That's it for today's adventure. Will Sergeant Reacher and Yara be able to unravel the mystery of this new alien threat? Can humanity and alien kind unite against a common enemy? The stakes have never been higher, and the journey is just beginning. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay updated on our next thrilling episode. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the vast emptiness of space, sometimes the most unlikely bonds can be the key to survival. Until next time, keep exploring.